Hi, everybody. We're going to continue our lesson today in the writing book. Okay. So I will share the screen with you. Have your books open, however. We're going to just look at page 39, which we already did. But I just want to start where we left off so that you know that we're not really skipping any pages unless I say that we have to. So take your writing books out and turn to page 39, and I will share my screen so you can see where I am. But of course, the screen is not as clear as your books. Okay. So here we are. If I make this bigger, I can't turn the pages, unfortunately. So I know that this is not going to be clear to you. But part of our homework that we checked last was the bottom of page 38, practice 6. I put all the answers to that homework on a video yesterday, so I hope you watched it. We did page 39 together. And then at the bottom of page 39, I'm going to have trouble with the pages again. I can tell you that right now. At the bottom, oh gosh. At the bottom of page 39, it talks about sentence structure, and we have been using simple sentences so far. But today we're going to learn about compound sentences, which really are not hard at all. And we did that last semester if you were in my class. So let's turn the page. Go to page 40. On page 40, you see a story. We're not going to worry about reading that here, but go ahead and read that, yourselves and do the exercise. In that story, you're supposed to underline all of the coordinating conjunctions, which we are going to be talking about in just a minute. And those are words like and, or, but, and so. And then you're supposed to decide or figure out why some have commas in front of them and why some don't. So that's just a little extra practice for you. I'm really sorry you have to put up with the page turning. I can't seem to control it. At the bottom of page 40, it talks about compound sentences, and that's what we're going to study today. So compound sentences are when you have two simple sentences in one. A simple sentence is when you have one subject and one verb. Okay? Okay, so looking at compound sentences, you have at least two simple sentences combined into one. And in the middle, between the first one and the second one, you have a comma, and then you have a coordinating conjunction, like and, or, so, but. There are actually 7 words like that, 7 coordinating conjunctions. If you go to page 41 at the top, it says here there are 7 coordinating conjunctions in English. They are and, but, or, and, but, so, or, for, nor, and yet. So we're not going to study all of those this semester. You'll have the rest of those probably next semester in level 3. So for this semester, we're just going to concentrate on and, but, so, and or. And I think most of you do understand what these words mean. Go back to page 40 for a minute and let's look at this example sentence that says a compound sentence is composed of at least 2 simple sentences joined by a comma and a coordinating conjunction. Okay, and this is the pattern. So he heard Happy singing, comma, so he dropped the other 2 rice balls into the hole. Some of these sentences are going to seem very strange to you, and that's because the sentences come from this story, Omasubi Kororin, the tumbling rice balls, that we're not going to read. But if you read it later, you'll figure out where these come from. So here we have 2 sentences. We have 2 complete sentences, simple sentences. He heard Happy singing. That's one sentence. He is the subject. Heard is the verb. And the second sentence is he dropped the other 2 rice balls into the holes. He is the subject. Dropped is the verb. These are 2 complete sentences as they are. But to make a compound sentence, we're joining them together. And where we normally would have a period after the first sentence, we have a comma. So we have a comma dividing the two simple sentences. And in this case, we used a coordinating conjunction, the word so. These words connect the sentences. And or so, but they connect sentences. And there's a reason to use so here, because when you use so, you are giving the reason for something. So, for example, he dropped the other 2 rice balls into the hole. Why? Why did he do that? Because he heard Happy singing. So when you use the word so, you're giving a reason why somebody is doing something. And in this case, the reason is he heard Happy singing. All right, let's go. That's just an example. Let's go to the top of page 41. It talks about and, but, so, or, okay, and what these words mean and how you would use them to connect 2 simple sentences to make a compound sentence. So the first word we're looking at is and you know, and means plus this. And we use the word and between 2 simple sentences to make a compound sentence when the 2 sentences are alike. So for example, we have here, he dropped a rice ball. That's one sentence. It rolled into a hole in the ground. That's another sentence. These are very similar sentences. They're both talking about the rice ball and something happening to the rice ball. Here he dropped it. Here it rolled. Okay, so these are connected by and. So we have he dropped a rice ball, comma, and it rolled into a hole in the ground. Look at the word but. So the word but connects 2 sentences, it joins sentences that are opposite of each other or show some kind of contrast. So for example, it says they were happy, comma, but they were poor. These are opposite, they show contrast, because you would think that if someone was poor, that person would not be happy, right? If they would not be happy if they were poor, same thing. So these show something that you would not expect. They were happy, but they were poor. It didn't matter that they were poor. They were still happy, okay? But it shows contrast. It shows what you wouldn't expect. The next one is the word so, which I already explained to you down here. So joins sentences when the second sentence expresses the result of something described in the first sentence. So to make that clearer to you, just like I explained on page 40, when you use the word so, there is a reason. You're giving a reason first, and then what somebody did, okay, second. So in this case, the greedy man wanted all of the mice's gold, comma, so he pretended to be a cat. So when you read the second part, so he pretended to be a cat, you can ask yourself why. Why did he pretend to be a cat? Because the greedy man wanted all of the mice's gold. Okay, so this is showing reason. And the word or connects sentences that give choices or alternatives, and alternatives also means choices. You know, one or the other. You could do this or you could do that. So let's read this sentence. He could choose a big box or he could choose a small one. He has a choice, right? He can't have both. He has to pick only one. So either the big one or the small one. There's a choice there. And I think that's easy enough to understand. Okay. Now we're going to be looking at commas in coordinating conjunctions and compound sentences. And we'll have just a little bit more about that later on in the chapter. Mamma mia, mamma mia. All right, here we are. Okay. A compound sentence always has a comma, and the comma is always before the coordinating conjunction. Remember, when I say coordinating conjunction, I'm talking about and, but, or so. Okay. enough to drive a person crazy. Okay, so here we go. This is a compound sentence. The old man was a generous person, comma, and he liked to help others. Here we're using the word and to connect two sentences. These could be two simple sentences and complete sentences by themselves. One sentence would be the old man was a generous person, and the other sentence would be he liked to help others. Okay, so we're using the word and because these two simple sentences are alike. A generous person is one who likes to help others. Okay, now this is a compound sentence because it has two subjects and two verbs. The first subject, the old man, the verb was. After the comma, we have the second subject, he, and the verb liked. Okay, we have to have a comma before and. Look at the next one. The mice were having a party, comma, and they asked the old man to join them. Again, we're using the word and because they're similar. They're talking about the party that the mice are having and that they wanted the old man to join them at this party, at the one they're talking about they're having. Two simple sentences. The mice were having a party. And the second one, they asked the old man to join them. But this is turned into a compound sentence with a comma between them and the word and. Let's look at the next one. This is a short sentence, but it's still a compound sentence. He took the small box, comma, and he went home. Two simple sentences. He took the small box, number one. He went home, number two. Okay, and they're also using the word and with the comma in front of it. Here we have two subjects and two verbs. Even though the two subjects are the same person, there's a subject on each side. He's the subject, took is the verb, and then after the comma, he's the subject, went is the verb. And if we look at this one above it, which I'm sorry, I did not do that part with you. The mice is the subject, were having verb. In the second part, we have they is the subject, asked is the verb. Okay. Now, these sentences are very similar. The difference is that these are simple sentences where there is no comma, and these are compound sentences where there are commas. So let's look at the differences. The one with a comma, the compound sentence says, the old man was a generous person, comma, and he liked to help others. Let's look at this one, which is similar. The old man was a generous person and liked to help others. So what's missing here? What's missing is the second subject. The old man was a generous person. That's a complete sentence, right? But liked to help others is not a complete sentence. It's missing the subject. So we need this, the old man, to be the subject for both this part of the sentence and this part of the sentence. This is important to the second part of the sentence because there's no subject here. And in this case, there is no comma, and this is a simple sentence. Look at the next one. So in the compound sentence, we have the mice were having a party, comma, and they asked the old man to join them. In the simple sentence, very similar, but simple sentence because there's not going to be a subject in the second part. The mice were having a party and asked the old man to join them. So you see here again that the mice were having a party is a complete sentence, but asked the old man to join them is not a complete sentence because it's missing the subject. The words, the mice, is the subject here and continues to be the subject in the second part, but it's not written, it's not said. So there's no comma because this is necessary to the second part of the sentence. And the next one, in compound sentence, he took the small box, comma, and he went home. We already talked about these, that there are two simple sentences into one. Both sides have a subject, both sides have a verb. But if you look at this, he took the small box and went home. He took the small box is a simple sentence. However, went home is not because it's missing the subject. So he has to be the subject here as well. It doesn't have to be written again. It doesn't have to be said again if you're speaking, but this is just a simple sentence, so there's no comma. He is necessary for this part of the sentence. It's strange to do this and not have the board to write other examples, and especially to not have you, my students, be asking me questions as I do this. I know that it's a lot better for you and much clearer to you if you could ask me questions while I do this, and I can give you more examples on the board, but you know, we can't do that. So when you watch a lesson video like this, if you don't understand, go through it again. And of course, send me emails, or when we have a Zoom meeting, make sure that you have the question available for me. Okay. On the next page, there's an exercise. It's practice 8, identifying compound sentences. Of course, you can't work with a partner. This is a story about Sequin's goat. It's a folk tale from France. A folk tale is a story that is handed down generation after generation. So I remember that when I was a little girl in Italy, my aunt, who we lived with, would always tell stories, and they were great stories. And they were stories that her father told her when she was a little girl. And her father's father told her father when he was a little boy. So there's stories that could be hundreds of years old. It's very, very interesting. And I'm sure that you know some stories like that. So this is a folk tale, a story that was handed down generation after generation in the country of France. So what you have to do here, and we'll do some together, read each sentence, okay? Decide if the sentence is a simple sentence or a compound sentence. Remember, if it's a simple sentence, there's only going to be one subject and one verb. And there could be 2 subjects and 1 verb, or 2 verbs and 1 subject, but they're keeping it simple here, okay? So you're deciding if it's a simple sentence with 1 subject and 1 verb, or is it a compound sentence with 2 subjects and 2 verbs. And remember, the subject can be the same in the first part of the sentence and in the second part of the sentence. If it's a simple sentence, you write SS, you leave it alone. If it's a compound sentence, you write CS, your directions are up here, see, CS, and then you have to put in a comma where it's needed. So remember, the comma is going to be before the coordinating conjunction, and, but, or, so. Okay, divides the 2 sentences. So the first one is done for you. A long time ago, high in the Alps, an old man lived with his goat, Blanchette. Don't worry about these commas. They're not here because this is a compound sentence or anything like that. We use commas for all different reasons, all right? So you don't need to change or even think about any other commas you see. The only thing you have to worry about or think about is adding a comma if it's a compound sentence, okay? Let's look at this one. She was a wonderful white goat and was very kind to her master, Monsieur Sequin. So first you're going to look for a word like en, but, or so. Do that first. So in this sentence, you see the word and. But you have to decide now, is it a compound sentence? Well, let's check. So look at the words before the word end and look at the words after the word end. If they are both complete sentences, then this is a compound sentence. Let's look. She was a wonderful white goat. Is that a simple sentence? It is. Now after the word end. Was very kind to her master, Monsieur Sequin. Was very, who was very kind? We don't have a subject. So there's no subject in this side, which means that she is the subject for all of this, okay? But it's just not said. Because she is not repeated here and there's no subject here, there is no comma here. This is not a compound sentence. This is a simple sentence, right? So you put SS there. Okay, let's look at the next one, number 3. They had lived together for many years. First, you have to look for and, but, or, so. And if it's not there, you know it's a simple sentence automatically. And it's not. There's no word like that here. So SS goes on this line. Number 4. Blanchette was always fastened to a tree. That means she was always tied to a tree with a rope. And, or, but, so. Do you see it? No. So you don't even have to think about this. This is a simple sentence. Let's look at number 5. She was often sad, and sometimes she didn't eat her food. Do you see any of those words? Yes. Here's the word end. Okay, so you see the word end, so now we have to check to see if this is a simple sentence or a compound sentence. So let's look at the words before the word end, and let's look at the words after the word end. And we have, she was often sad. That is a complete sentence. She is the subject, was is the verb. Let's look at the words after the word end. Sometimes she didn't eat her food. That is also a complete sentence. The subject is she, and the verb is didn't eat. So this is a compound sentence. What do we have to do with a compound sentence? We have to add a comma. We're going to put the comma right before the word end, right before the coordinating conjunction. So this is a compound sentence, CS, and we put a comma before the word end. Don't you dare turn. There we go. Okay. We're going to look at number 6. Every day, she looked at the big mountains and dreamed of being free to explore them. Let's look for a coordinating conjunction. So, all right, so here's the word end. Now let's read both sides. Every day, she looked at the big mountains. That is a complete sentence. The subject is she. The verb is looked. Now let's look at the words after it. Dreamed of being free to explore them. This is not a complete sentence. The subject is missing. The subject would be she. We need she for both sides. So this is a simple sentence and there is no comma. Okay? I'm going to let you do I'm going to let you do 7 through 16. And I'm going to, here we go. I'm going to write that down so I can give you the answers later on. Okay, you're doing number 7 through 16 for homework. All right. In the next part, you have to form compound sentences. It says for each set of sentences, make one compound sentence or one simple sentence with 2 verbs. Use and, but, so, or to join sentences. Punctuate carefully, using commas, of course, and there may be more than one possible answer. So the first one is done for you. It became very dark, period. Blanchette was suddenly afraid, period. 2 simple sentences. They want you to make one compound sentence. It became very dark, comma, and Blanchette was suddenly afraid. So they put the word and to connect them, and they put a comma before the word end. Okay, so we have 2 subjects, it, Blanchette, 2 verbs, became and was. Look at this one. She heard a noise. She decided to go back to her enclosure. That means that's the place where she stays. 2 simple sentences, make a compound sentence. Well, you don't have to make a compound sentence because it says make one compound or one simple with 2 verbs. So this could be, she heard a noise and decided to go back to her enclosure. That's a simple sentence. I took out the period, I took out the word she, but there's no comma after the end because it's a simple sentence. She heard a noise and decided to go back to her enclosure. And if you put she heard a noise, so decided to go back to her enclosure, that would also be correct, because she decided to go back to her enclosure. Why did she decide that? What's the reason? Because she heard a noise. Okay, so either one of those are correct. Sometimes you can use the word and or something else as long as it makes sense. Going to page 43. Let's do this one. She walked for a long time. She couldn't find a road. So you could say, she walked for a long time, but couldn't find the road. It's a simple sentence because I didn't put the second subject. She walked for a long time, but couldn't find a road. This is where having the board would be great, so I could write it on the board. Or you can make a compound sentence and say she walked for a long time, comma, but she couldn't find a road. Okay, either one of those. I'm going to ask you to do this for homework. I won't be able to see it. I wish I could. And there might be a way that I can put this on Canvas, so you would have to type it. But you know what? I don't think I'll do that. But there is something I will put on Canvas. It will be practice 10. All right, so let's look at number 4. Finally, she became very tired. She tried to rest. Her fear prevented her from sleeping. 3 sentences. You have to combine all 3 of these together. So I'm interested to see what you do here, if you can combine all 3 of these together. Okay, so do the rest for homework. If I can figure out how to do it, I'll put this homework on Canvas so you can actually type the answers and I can see them, okay? If I can figure that out. And I'm going to do this. All right, book. I have had enough out of you. Nope. This is it. This is it. Okay. Practice 10. This one, I definitely have to try to figure out how to put it on Canvas so you can type the answers. Okay, again, I'm not sure that I can, so check the Canvas. If I can do it, you'll see it, okay? It will say practice 9 and practice 10 for the laws book, LAWS, the writing book, all right? But here, for example, number 1 says, write a sentence that tells one thing you like to do and one thing you don't like to do. And in parentheses, they tell you have to use the word but. So this person wrote, I like to swim in the ocean, comma, but I don't like to swim in swimming pools. So, excuse me, these things will be opposite each other, okay? Look at number 2. Write a sentence that tells the results of each clause. Begin each sentence with I am or I was. So I am would be in the present time and I was would be in the past time. You need to use so in all of these. So the first one is being born in whatever your country is. This person wrote, I was born in Russia, comma, so I speak Russian. Why do you speak Russian? Because I was born in, why do I speak Russian? Because I was born in Russia. Remember, this is where you have a reason for something that is. Okay, you're going to use the word so. So something like this would be like being the oldest child. I'm not sure what they want you to do. Being a lazy, hardworking student. You know what? Skip number 2. Just skip it. I think it's too complicated right now. Look, so do number 3, 4, 5, okay? And make sure you use the words they tell you to use in the parentheses. All right, I'm going to turn the page. Let's try to turn just 1 page. Hey, there you go. All right, that's all. That's all for that. This book is playing games with me. Oh my gosh. Sorry, guys. You're just going to have to put up with me. in this book. Okay, close. All right. The next thing, and I believe this is the last thing actually in this chapter, which means you will be taking another test pretty soon, but this was a short chapter, is page 44, 3 comma rules. So you already actually learned one of these today. So the first one, it says, put a comma after a time order signal that comes before the subject at the beginning of a sentence. We learned this in this chapter, actually. So the words then, soon, and now are usually not followed by a comma, okay? This is something we did learn in the chapter, so this is pretty much a review. And they're talking about words like this: yesterday, comma, I did homework for 3 hours. Finally, comma, I was too tired to think. At 8 o'clock in the evening, comma, I fell asleep on the sofa. But soon I started sleeping. What? Soon I started dreaming. I don't know what this is doing here. This is a capital S, right? Soon I started sleeping. I think what they're telling you here is that there's no comma after soon, because you learned that then, soon, and now they have no commas, okay? But these do. The next one is put a comma after the first sentence in a compound sentence. Put the comma before the coordinating conjunction. Don't use a comma between two parts of a simple sentence. And this is what we were just talking about in a compound sentence. I was too tired to think, comma, so I decided to take a short break. Here we have 2 sentences in one. I was too tired to think is the first one. I decided to take a short break is the second one. So we have the word so, coordinating conjunction, and there's a comma before it. Why did this person decide to take a short break? Because he was too tired to think, okay? Remember, the word so is a reason for something. All right, so however, this is a simple sentence. I woke up and finished my homework, even though it has the word and in it. There is no subject in the second part. I woke up is a complete sentence, but finished my homework is not. So we need this word I, this subject, to go with this, and therefore there's no comma there. So that was something else that you learned in this chapter. And then number 3, put a comma between the items in a series of 3 or more items. The items may be words, phrases, or clauses. So that means it could be just a word, it could be a group of words, okay? And it reminds you, don't use a comma between only 2 items. This is only for 3 or more, okay? Look, I got up, comma, took a shower, comma, drank a cup of coffee, comma, grabbed my books, comma, and ran out the door. Red, comma, white, comma, and blue are the colors of the United States flag. But if you only have 2 things like red and gold are the school colors, and there are no commas here. In the first one, if you only had 2 things like I got up and took a shower and nothing else, there's no comma there. It's only for 3 or more things. Okay. And here we have a practice using commas correctly. Add commas as needed. Daisy, comma, Tomiko, comma, Kaiko, comma, and Nina live near the college that they all attend. You have to put commas between all of these because they are 3 or more things, okay? There's not a comma after the last item, okay? No comma after the last item. The last item always has end in front of it. Tomiko and Kaiko are from Japan, and Nina and Daisy are from Mexico. Okay, so here we have Tomiko and Kaiko are from Japan. That's one sentence. Nina and Daisy are from Mexico. That's another complete sentence. It's divided by the word and, a coordinating conjunction, but this is a compound sentence. So what do you do here? You put a comma before the word and, okay? All right, for homework, you're going to do 3 through 12 on page 45. 3 through 12, page 44 to 45. You know what? Let's do 3 right now. then you only have to do 45. Let's do 3 right now. Nina and Kaiko have the same birthday, period. Both girls were born on June 3rd on different continents. So if we see Nina and Kaiko have the same birthday, period, this is a separate sentence. They're not telling you to combine them and make a compound sentence. They just want you to add commas if you need them. So you don't need a comma here, right? You don't need a comma here. It's not a compound sentence. Both girls were born on June 3rd on different continents, and this is another simple sentence, and you don't need a comma. So you guys do 4 through 12 on page 45 for homework, okay? And I'll have the answers up next week. Are you kidding me? Okay, page 45. All right. Look at this exercise B. Answer each question with a complete sentence. Use commas correctly. Number 1 says, when and where were you born? Begin your answer with, I was born on. Okay. I was born on, for example, I'll just make something up. I was born on February 8th, 1982 in, I don't know, Turnersville, New Jersey, right? Something like that. So you do the rest of these, do complete sentences. And I am going to, you can put them in your book first, and I'm going to try a way to make this assignment on Canvas so that you can type it, okay? If you do an assignment like this, you should see some kind of a box where you have to type and then submit, and then I will be able to see your work. All right, I think that's, pretty sure that's it. Don't worry about this page, and we're not going to worry about any of these pages right now. And then that takes us to the end, okay? You will have a narrative paragraph to write. I'm not going to talk about that right now. We're not going to do that right away because next week you're going to have a timed writing assignment, and I will talk about the timed writing assignment. I'm going to make another video that is going to be about the timed writing assignment. Okay, so it's important to watch that as well. It will say timed writing assignment video. There. Timed writing assignment video. So you have to watch that. That is very, very important. And then after you do the timed writing assignment, the week after that, I will assign a narrative paragraph for you to write. Okay. All right. So that's it. I'm going to try to figure out how to put the writing assignments from the book, from the homework on Canvas. So please look for that. It will say something like, writing book homework and then the pages, okay? And you would type it. All right, everybody. Have a good weekend. Okay, bye-bye.